All right, welcome back to the channel. I did a previous video on running some water line. I filled that back in. You can see we had a ton of rain. It has settled some of the dirt in the ditch where the water line is ran, and this is going to need to be revisited in regards to filling it back in. Some of this was just frozen because of the temperature. I wasn't able to get it back in. I went after it with a pickaxe to get what I could get back in there. So my old pit bull would stop falling in there. What a mess. But anyhow, I'm going to go after what I can get with a land plane today. And, just try and get that filled back in. Miss Lily, she's an old girl, and she keeps tripping in there and clomping around, so got to get that done, and it just needs to get done in general. Speak of the devil, there she is. Well, I got you on time lapse now. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of dragging around. If you're seeing a little flash in there, I guess it's just the way that the video got cut. I was trying to get rid of the times where I was out of frame on these shots, and I haven't seen that happen before. So that'll be wrapped up here pretty soon. But yeah, so this tool works great. This is the J-Bar land plane. It's a 6-foot wide one. I think it weighs about 450 pounds. It's got rippers on there and 2 cutting blades, and it really smooths things out real nice. I do okay as far as grading goes with that track loader, and following up with this really gets rid of any washboard or inconsistencies you got. And right now we're just kind of trying to smooth this out a bit. I'd like to get some grass seed out here soon, and I'm also just trying to fill in, some ruts from when it was muddy, and those ditches from where I run the water line. So getting this cleaned up, it looks pretty nice, and I'll show you how it turned out once we get done running around here. Alright, well, it's time to move the remainder of this pallet of blocks that I got for leveling that trailer up. And you can kind of see the track loader where it's at. It's going to be heading in this direction. Off to the right of that pallet of cinder blocks, I decided to change the grading a little bit, because up top, water sheds off of there, and then water sheds off of the area that we're kind of looking at now, and some of the flat area that we were grading. And it's, where the track loader's coming from is where the gravel for the driveway is going in, and it's heading down there and picking up speed going down the hill, and it's kind of just washing things out. So what I'm doing is kind of just trying to direct the water to see where the loader's parking at right now, to where it sheds off the side of the hill there instead of traveling down the driveway. So I'm kind of just creating a little bit of, I guess, what you would call a water break. So I got to get this stuff moved so I can finish doing that, and let's get at it. If you take a look at the white trim on the bottom of the trailer there, you can see on our, I guess, camera left, the distance from the trim to the ground is shorter than it is on the right. So that's that slope I'm talking about. We're getting that water to roll off at the side there so it doesn't continue to go down what's going to be the driveway and create erosion and possibly have you lose gravel or get your gravel contaminated with dirt, whatever it might be. But yeah, so it's one of these things to where, one of the nice things about having a project like this where you're not really on a timeline or a schedule, you have chances to see, where the water is going to go when you have heavy rains, and you can make these adjustments. Like if this was a job and maybe you weren't the great at trying to anticipate where water was going, you would come in here and do something, and then the customer or the homeowner or even yourself would realize that after putting gravel and grass seed or maybe even sod in, that you've got grading issues and drainage issues, and then you just got to go back in there and start tearing everything up and doing something like this. So yeah, this will be a good change, and it'll be worth the extra work. Well, you can see everything shaped up nicely. Like I said, that land plane leaves a really nice finish. I guess, you could throw grass seed down on this if you wanted to. I think if it was like a legit job site or a customer job, you would probably want to go over it with a rock rake because there are some rocks in there still. But it does a really nice job. I've kind of found that when you're using that thing, you kind of got to do a lot of crisscrossing, and then I'll show you later, doing circles really helps a lot in a particular situation, and we'll touch on that later. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this. Everything's cleaning up, and like I said, I want to get some grass seed down because things are kind of where I want them at, and it's been a real mud hole up here through the winter. It can really kind of drag you down. I don't know what it is about the mud that just kills the mood, but it definitely does. And it would be nice to get some grass. Unfortunately, you know, that creates more work because, you know, when you got to mow, it's just one more thing to do. All right, well, we got that portion of the job knocked out. Miss Lily is coming in, giving me a little inspection, a quality check. She's a good old 14-and-a-half-year-old dog, and then we got this crazy new girl here. She's always tagging along, and I've been trying to see how she acts around the equipment, and she thinks or seems to be safe. And we're getting this chain sharpened up. We're going to take this dead tree down. That's the next thing on the hit list. You know, get your chain sharpened up. There's no sense in messing around with a half-dulled chain. If you don't know how to sharpen chains, there's plenty of great videos out there to do that. So let's get on to this dead tree here. Moving in for the kill with the old track loader here, and where this tree's at, there's been a lot of fill dirt put around that thing. So where the trunk would normally meet the ground is probably about 2 foot, 3 foot lower than current grade. So what I'm going to try and do is dig around the base of that thing, and I know it's going to snap off because it's a dry, dead tree. I'd like to get it to snap off as close to the ground as possible. And this one's going to be kind of dangerous. It's pretty dry, and there's a lot of long, dry branches hanging out there. If this thing gets to rocking while I'm pushing on it, those branches can start shattering and raining down. And it's good having the roof on this thing, but you could still get harpooned. And it's going to be a big mess to clean up when it hits the ground. So I'm going to send it down into the woods there. You saw how much of a mess there was to clean up with the pine in the previous video, if you saw that one. So we're just going to kind of minimize the cleanup and the danger factor here and just send it down into the woods. All right, well, we're just about done with the digging around the base there, and we're getting ready to move in here and start leaning on this tree and see how it's going to act. It is a bit windy today. Once I start to get to pushing on this thing, you'll notice those branches are kind of waving around. So what I'm going to do once I get up on this thing is I'm going to start dialing the throttle up just a little bit at a time. I don't want it to break all at once or have something happen real fast. So we're just going to kind of ease into it and try and get a feel for where it's going to break. And I'm actually kind of peeking off to the side looking at the bottom. And as this thing starts to go over, I can see that this thing is breaking down at the base. Well, that went about as good as you could hope for. You could see those branches were raining down, but I was like well out of the way there. Um, I could have maybe cut that thing down with the chainsaw, but I didn't really want to be underneath of it while I was working on it. This to me just seems a lot safer, and it's definitely, I know it's going to go where I want it to go for sure. This was in proximity of that trailer, so it could have potentially fell on that. So we're good to go now. Well, there's a little bit of something I had to get at with the chainsaw there, and that's all cleaned up. This thing's free and ready to pull out of here. I got a strap on it, and we're getting ready to drag it up top so we can limit and section it and get this mess cleaned up. Alright, so I got this thing all sliced and diced. Now I'm going to throw some numbers around here. If you were to have a tree like this taken down by a professional, it depends on your area and who you know or whatever. You could easily spend a couple $1,000s having somebody do something like this. And, it's nothing but trees out here, so you really ought to know how to do some tree work if you're going to have a piece of property like this. But I'm just trying to, I guess, not diminish, what we're doing here. There's a lot of value in doing this stuff yourself. We basically just saved, a couple $1,000s in just a little bit that you've seen here in this video. So that's awesome. You know what I mean? It's you're better off to do this stuff yourself if you feel like you can do it safely. It's good exercise, and it's good to be working in general. I really love running the chainsaw, which is great because there's a lot of chainsaw running to be done out here. And now we're going to take this thing to the berry pit, and let's go for a little. Well, actually, you know what? There's a little more cleanup to do before we do that. So let's get this stuff cleaned up, and then we'll go dump this in the berry. I decided to save this piece of wood here. I think I'm going to make a little bench out of this, or something to sit on. I kind of thought that was cool. Alright, that's rolled. Let's take this down to the berry pit, get rid of this load. I actually haven't filmed the trip back, so I figured I'd do that now. You get a different perspective, I guess, some different views. So there you go. So this smoothed out nicely pretty quick. We're about done with that, and it's time to kind of track it in, get all that kind of smushed down, and then after we do that, we'll go over top of it with the land plane and kind of blend it in. I don't think we should have too much settling here, so I think we'll be good to go. Now this is what I was talking about with the circles. You can see where we're transitioning from flat to that hillside. If you don't do something like this, you end up getting real, what I'm going to call linear drag marks, where it's real notchy. So when you do this, it helps to make it a lot more flowy, if you know what I'm saying. It's just a nice sweeping grade instead of notchy, So this is something I just kind of figured out. I don't know if this is actually like a thing or not, but it seems to work really well. And when I show you the video of the finished product, you'll see what I'm talking about, and it's just real smooth and nice. So like I was saying, that's real nicey, and I'm happy with that. Now let's get on to the next thing that we got to do. So this would be, I guess, the end of what I'm referring to as the storm damage. I don't know exactly how much rain we got in a day or two, but I believe it was close to 6 inches. And before that rain was coming, I had gotten down here on the lower portion of the driveway and kind of dug the ditch out a little more. You do need to do a little maintenance on your swales or drainage ditches, and I thought it was going to be okay, but I guess too much material broke loose from the ditch or got carried down there. I'm going to stop here and grab some tools, but as we're driving down the driveway, you're going to see that the gravel portion of this driveway, you can see on the side where it looks like cleaner rock, and then the rest of it has vegetation. I dug a tremendous amount of rock out of this driveway to basically do two things. The further you go down, the wider surface that you have, and then also too, the consistency of the grade was real wonky before. It was just like, you're kind of shooting up and plateauing off and shooting up and plateauing off. I wanted more of a consistent grade, and you'll see that as we're going down. But because it's basically all rock underneath of the little bit of dirt that you're seeing up here, I'm just going to call it icing on the cake. You got to put a little icing on the cake, or else your gravel has nothing to stick to. So it's really nice because you don't have to worry about sinking too much. Like if you're doing it on fill, you can lose a lot of gravel, or maybe you need to put some driveway cloth down. But this is a really nice scenario because there's basically just rock with like 3 inches of dirt on top of it, and then this is what they call a number 4 rock. It's just like a base gravel, and it's tying in really nicely. And I'm just going to go over this with some crush and run once I get the whole driveway done. So you can see what I'm talking about there. And by the way, all this work has been done with an old pedal steer track loader, which is great. It would be awesome if I had an excavator with like a hydraulic thumb. You could get a lot more done. But a machine like this will, it's a good all-around piece of equipment. If you were going to buy something, this is the thing to get. Getting a tractor with a bucket or a backhoe on it, especially in this soil conditions down here, is not going to get you very far. But this thing, you know, it's required a lot of maintenance along the way, which would be extremely expensive if you can't do that on your own. But this machine, man, I love it. It's been clutched the whole way. All right, well, this is what I'm talking about here. You can see that needs cleaned up. It needs dug out a bit. And, I mean, I've never seen it do this in 3 years. It's just filled up and blown out with material down through here like this. And that has never happened once before. And this was all cleared out. So, like I said, it was a tremendous amount of rain. And it just filled up all this area here. And fortunately, that drainage tile down there is not packed full. It's clear, which is a really big deal because it's deep. It's deep down there, and digging that out and putting a new tile in would be a pain in the butt. Now, this is a lot of digging, but that's where I'm going to end this video, and I appreciate y'all watching.